Hey adventurers, and welcome back to Tower TV. Sorry we're a little bit behind on getting the post up for this afternoon. However, we are having some technical difficulties in the edit, but I promised you guys a start collecting guide to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, so that is exactly what I will bring to you. And so for a little bit of a description of what the game is, Warhammer Age of Sigmar is what is classified as a miniature war game. And so if you're looking for a little bit, a few more details on that, just go and check out the Bolt Action video with Scott Costello on Warlord on the YouTube page that I will have linked when I get this posted, or I can just give you a description. So most folks are normally familiar with chess or some kind of game where you have a table and a whole bunch of pieces, and those pieces serve different purposes. This is very much the same game, but instead of like pawns, rooks, knights, bishops, you can have ghosts and skeletons with zombie dragons, or you can have literal giants, or you can have massive demons. And then you can take your pick of whatever army or faction you like from there. And so to describe what those armies and factions do, there are 4 for Age of Sigmar. Each one has a markedly different play style, and each one has a little bit more to offer their player. And to describe what those are, let us flip around and I can show you. We have death, destruction, chaos, and order. And so each one has a little bit of a selection of different factions and starter boxes to go with it. And so for death, you will be serving Nagash, the god of the dead himself. Pretty much characterized by an endless horde of zombies, skelebobs, and whatever else may be going from a spooky, scary day. You will pretty much be able to make sure that you are able to bring back a lot of your fodder troops more frequently and have a great selection of magic heroes to pull from. So for the specific army of Legions of Nagash, the starter box to go with it is Skeleton Horde. And so even for the hobbying side of it, I do have a lot of questions as of how to fully get into the hobbying side of it, because I do know that a lot of people want to play the game, but not everyone is so comfortable getting into the hobby side of it with building and painting and whatnot. Games Workshop absolutely has you covered, because inside each of the Battletomes is a full front section of lore inside the book, and then the middle part is Guide to the Hobby, which is building, and also a guide to painting different parts of the army. But on the back of the box itself, for each one of these starter boxes, you'll actually see a painting guide somewhere with the Citadel paint selection. And then you can pretty much just follow that paint scheme decently closely and get pretty much what you see on the back of each of these boxes. But with that in mind, let us move on to destruction. You just want a good fight. You're here for a good time, not a long time. And you know what? It's going to be a great time getting into melee combat with whoever is unfortunate enough to be on the other side of the table. And so for the Ogor Mawtribes is who we'll highlight for the destruction. So the Ogor Mawtribes starter box only has 5 models. The scariest part about this army is that that is all you need to get started. And so when you actually flip the box around, you'll see just how large this guy is in comparison to some of the other ones. And as mentioned, there's that little paint scheme right there. And for pricings, a lot of the Battletomes are pretty much always going to be $40 MSRP. But for the start collecting boxes, they're normally going to range from about $85 to $110. This one specifically is going to be $90, and while I'm actually thinking about it, the Skeleton Horde is going to be $90 MSRP. Moving on to the next one is Chaos. If you were looking at my mask at the beginning of the video, you'll probably recognize that little star up there. But yeah, Chaos is pretty much the united front of the 4 Chaos Gods. And for a bit of a description, we have Khorne, blood for the Blood God, skulls for the Skull Throne. It's pretty much self-explanatory. You have Nurgle, the god of entropy and plague. You have Slaanesh, the Chaos God of excess. And you also have Tzeentch, the Lord of Change, because there's not many things changier than a literal bird wizard. See, set that aside for when we get to the end. Say hi, Tyler. You guys will be seeing him on Monday when we go live again. But the Chaos Order is pretty much all 4 of the Chaos Gods thrown into a single united front. Because in this game, you can ally different armies if you're able to. And so for different armies of Chaos, they can go together. Different armies of Destruction can go together. And different armies of death can go together. But there's also more details on that in the General's Handbook, but that's a little bit farther for a start collecting. And so for this particular army of the Slaves to Darkness, since you are able to kind of pull from all 4 of the Chaos Gods, you have a kind of vanilla roster of units on the box, but you can get the benefits of all 4 of the Chaos Gods when you actually start playing the game. So if you want your warriors to be dedicated to one and your knights dedicated to another, it'll actually have a way of rewarding you for doing that. And that starter box is going to be $95 MSRP. And then last is Order. Order is pretty much whoever's left after the 3 have been mentioned. And so you could have everything from Dark Elves, you can have everything for Wood Elves, you can also have the Chosen of Sigmar himself, the Stormcast Eternals. And so the Golden Boys kind of act as the forefront for the rest of the game. They're also who you see on literally all the packaging. It's always the Stormcast. Stormcast. Not quite Stormcast, but Stormcast. And so the Stormcast Eternals are the recommended starting location for a lot of new players if you're trying to get into Order. And you also have some sweet looking models for the Liberators. It's great. But for Order, they're usually going to be a solid front line with a whole bunch of good backup and a very nice selection of monsters. And so even for Order, I always get weird looks when I say you can play literal dinosaurs for Order. You can play literal dinosaurs for Order. Literal dinosaurs. And more details on those particular factions will be in any of the stories that you would like to read from Black Library's assortment. And so for Black Library, the actual starting book, let's see, Sacrosanct and Other Stories. This is the actual starter book and novel released by the Black Library for getting into the game and its lore, and or as is popularly referred to as fluff. But that is pretty much all of the 4 general orders kind of covered, but for actually finding a place to start, I do understand that these are sometimes a little bit more expensive for some people to get into, and so Games Workshop does provide a starter magazine. So the starter magazine is $8 in store, and it also comes with a little miniature to help you get started and get practicing with the hobbying side of it. And inside the game, it actually covers, inside the magazine, it'll cover a lot of what goes on in the game, as well as a brief description of all of the factions, so you can make a pick for where you would like to start. And if you also have a friend that's looking to get into the game, they do make starter boxes for you. Whereas these are one army, these usually come with 2 separate forces. For the starter box, Stormstrike, it is $40 MSRP, so if you have 2 players looking to get into the game, it is $20 per person. And then you have a small force of Stormcast to go up against a small force of Nighthaunt. And then when the 2 armies meet on the battlefield, you'll have a good time and you'll be able to expand your army that starts here with everything else that you see on the shelf. Or if you're looking for a bit of a larger start, there are these battle boxes. For here, we have Shadow and Pain between the Daughters of Cain and the Hedonites of Slaanesh. That box is going to be rocking $170 MSRP, but on the back, it's a much larger roster for you to pull from, and Games Workshop likes to use these kind of boxes as the avenue for introducing new models or new rule sets. And speaking of new rule sets, we are also on the tail of new releases, with the Hedonites of Slaanesh getting a massive upgrade to their lineup, as well as the Daughters of Cain getting some new rules and new endless spells. And so you can just get a little bit of a glimpse here of everything that we just got in store recently, and all of it is available for sale and online order at towerofgames.com. Now, it's just a very brief overview for everything that can be inside Age of Sigmar. But if you have any questions or any comments, concerns, feel free to leave it down below and I will get to you as soon as possible. And we'll also probably be redoing this video a little bit more in depth, but just to make sure that we get you guys covered if you're looking to get into the game, here we are. And so, that is all I got for you guys for this, words. That's all I got for you guys for this stream, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.